Manectric was way better than Mega-Manectric in terms of offensive pressure. For this theory to ring true, 3 conditions have to be met. Before we dive right in, I'm Riri and I would like to welcome you to the Gutter Rankings channel. So what are these 3 conditions? First off, you need to outspeed. Manectric needs the ability minus, and whatever you send out with him also needs to have the ability minus or plus. If Manectric has the ability minus and his partner has the ability plus or also minus, his special attack side is boosted by 50% simply from being there. The Manectric that I'll be using this week also carries a life orb, which is another 30% boost. My Minun also happens to know Helping Hand, which is another 50% boost. This means that a Thunderbolt from Manectric is like being hit by 2 Thunderbolts with even a little bit extra. In theory, you could boost his attack stat even more by giving him the choice specs. However, this limits him a lot in terms of versatility, as he wouldn't be able to use a different attack unless you switch him out. Therefore, in my opinion, the life orb is way better. With all these conditions met, Manectric's special attack exceeds even that of Mega Mewtwo Y. So what does this actually look like in battle? I usually show the entire fight, but for the sake of this explanation I'll only be showing the relevant part of the battle. At this point of the battle, my Electrode and Emolga had already taken care of my opponent's Salamence and Zoroark. My opponent was left with his Suicune and Cobalion. Now, Suicune is usually very defensive, but he doesn't have a lot of offensive pressure, and thus I was first targeting his Cobalion. Now, with the Helping Hand, that's more than enough damage to absolutely knock Cobalion out. I even think perhaps without the Helping Hand it would have been enough. However, there is really no need to take risks in battle if you don't need to, because that can easily lose you games. Blizzard connecting with both my Pokemon, and as expected it didn't do enough to knock out either one of them. With another Helping Hand and a Thunderbolt, the battle came to an abrupt end. So how exactly does Manectric and Mega-Manectric's stats add up? At first glance, it's easy to think that Mega-Manectric is better simply because of his speed and special attack base stats. But given an ability like Minus instead of Intimidate, Manectric's special attack already exceeds that of Mega-Manectric. I don't want to nag you too much with the theory, and instead I'd like to show you some more battles. Minun and Manectric are by far the stars of this mono-electric team. I'd like to introduce the other team members to you as we move along. This team is exponentially more difficult to use than the other teams that I've used on this channel. We're gonna dive right in, and we're gonna have my first ever battle with this mono-electric team against a player named Sam. Sam is leading with Venusaur and Gengar. I'm not too afraid of the Venusaur, I've got a lot of moves that can deal with it. However, Gengar is a different story. Gengar is gonna go ahead and Mega Evolve here. And I'm carrying Foul Play on my Electrode, so I know I'll be able to do a decent amount of damage to it. In fact, it does a little bit more than 50%, which makes me pretty comfortable. Emolga setting up the Tailwind here, making sure my team can outspeed, especially Manectric and Minun that I still have at the back. Sludge Pump connecting with Emolga, doing a massive amount of damage. Now my Emolga is max HP, however I'm still surprised that it survived. Sunny Day coming from Venusaur, so I'm gonna guess it's a Chlorophyll Venusaur, but being behind the Tailwind I'm still outspeeding at this point. I didn't want a Shadow Sneak to take out Emolga, so I'm gonna go for the Protect here and then for a Mirror Coat on from Electrode, expecting that Venusaur is perhaps going to use Solar Beam or something. However, Venusaur goes for the Leech Seed instead, but Gengar did use Dazzling Gleam, so Mirror Coat is still able to do something, and it's just enough damage to take Gengar out. I'm feeling pretty confident in this position, however, the lead sheet is not sitting well for me. Female Meowstic coming in, she does not have Prankster, but she can still have a lot of special attack pressure. So I'm gonna go for the Foul Play onto her, wanting to get her out of the game, and also for a Fling. Fling is a bit more versatile than Fake Out, because you can decide when you want your opponent to flinch, however you have to outspeed, and you have to be holding the King's Rock. Venusaur is finally going for the Solar Beam, doing a massive amount of damage to Electrode, almost enough to take it out, but of course the Leech Seed is gonna go ahead and finish him off, which allows me to bring in Manectric. We are still in the sun, which means the power of fire moves is up to 50%, And Venusaur did not Mega, so it doesn't have any resistance, which makes me feel pretty confident. I'm gonna use Air Slash onto the Meowstic, hoping that it's going to flinch. Flamethrower more than enough to absolutely slaughter that Venusaur. And Meowstic is gonna go for the Psychic to get rid of my Emolga. This allows me to bring in my last Pokemon, Minun, which is also activating the ability to boost my Manectric's attack stat by 50%. However, I see my opponent bringing in Swamperts. I'll rather protect Manectric and use Grass Knot from my Minun to get Swampert in KO range. I don't want Swampert to be using any ground-based moves against my Manectric because it's not very bulky at all. Meowstic going for the Psychic onto my Manectric, who was luckily protecting an Earthquake coming from Swampert onto Meowstic and Minun. More than enough damage to absolutely destroy Minun. I see players do this a lot with Discharge and Earthquake where they take out their own Pokemon. So if you want to have those moves in your team, make sure it works or that you have some type of ability or typing that allows you to avoid it, because a lot of time players do lose because of moves such as these. And Manectric is able to take out Swampert there with Hidden Power Ice. Our next battle is against a player named Layla. I'm gonna lead with Emolga and Electivire. My Electivire is maxed out on normal attack and it's also carrying the Choice Band. My opponent's leading with Blaziken and Whiscash. Now I want to get rid of Blaziken as fast as possible because it carries a lot of offensive pressure, and I also want to get the Tailwind set up to make sure that I'm gonna outspeed. The Tailwind goes up without any issues and I'm able to get off an Earthquake from Electivire. Blaziken is not really bulky at all and it's gonna go down, Whiscash taking a little bit more than 50% damage. Whiscash is going to go ahead, use Waterfall, does a massive amount of damage to Electivire that I kind of didn't expect. More than 50% in fact. My opponent brings out Swellow, who perhaps was not the best Pokemon to bring against my Mono Electric team. I don't want Swellow to do any unnecessary damage to my team, so I'm going to go ahead and force it to flinch a Fling, and I'm going to go for another Earthquake to take out the Whiscash. My opponent will be bringing in her last Pokemon here, which is Celebi. Now I wanted to switch out because I'm stuck with Earthquake due to the Choice Band, but I didn't want Manectric or Minun to take any unnecessary damage. So instead I'm gonna go for the Air Slash hoping to get a flinch and another Earthquake, which does a little bit of damage there. Swellow is gonna go ahead, use Fly. And I'm gonna assume he's going after Emolga because he went after Electivire with Celebi. So just to avoid any damage, I'm gonna protect Emolga here. Celebi recovering a little bit of HP there with the leftovers. I'm sending out Minun. I've got Manectric at the back, but I first want to get both of my opponent Pokemon paralyzed just to make things a little bit easier and safer for Manectric. Swellow going after Emolga here, who was luckily protecting, so thus avoiding any damage. With the Tailwind coming off, Swellow is now going to outspeed my team. I wanted to paralyze it, I didn't expect that it was gonna go for another Fly. I'm kind of guessing it might have been Choice Banded, which is really unfortunate. Fly is really easy to protect when it's gonna strike, so you can just protect to avoid any damage. I'm gonna assume that he's going after Emolga again, so I'm gonna go ahead and protect there. And then I'm gonna go for a Nuzzle from Minun just to slow that Swellow down. Nuzzle is definitely better than Thunder Wave because apart from getting the paralysis off, you also get to do a little bit of damage. Celebi being held back with the paralysis there and also recovering a little bit due to the leftovers. I'm gonna go for a Helping Hand and Air Slash onto the Celebi. Helping Hand was perhaps overdoing it, however, it wasn't really that big of a risk considering my position at the moment. I know Manectric will be able to finish off Swellow should anything go wrong with these two at the front. Swallow going again for a fly, which leads me again to believe that it must be Choice Bandit because my opponent is not changing the move. Gonna go for another Protect on Emolga and Minun, not wanting either one of them to take any unnecessary damage. I'm gonna go for Helping Hand and Air Slash, trying to get the most amount of damage that I can off there, nearly knocking it out in fact. Swallow going for another fly. I should have protected both of my Pokemon here, knowing that I'm gonna be outspeeding due to the paralysis. However, I had a bit of a brain fail and I went for a Nuzzle instead. It's gonna connect with Minun, do a massive amount of damage, and I'm able to take it out with the Air Slash. I always get very nervous when I start using the team for the first time because there's quote-unquote growing pains, so the more you use it, the more you can see what moves you need to switch around to make it work fluently. That's gonna be the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. As always, I really enjoy using new teams and building new strategies. If you like this video, please feel free to leave a like. I would really appreciate it. And if you want to see some more videos from me, feel free to subscribe. I hope you have an amazing day and that you're staying safe and healthy, and that I will see you in the next video. Bye!